Hello, everyone, and thanks so much for tuning in to the Raise Your Own Bar podcast. I'm your host, Tamara Bucky. Today, we will be doing an Ask Me Anything episode where I have been getting questions from a variety of people, former coworkers, friends, and even people on LinkedIn that I haven't met, as it relates to everything that the government is doing and what happens or what should happen for government employees. How can you prepare to fight back against layoffs? What can you do if you do get laid off? How can you find a new career outside of the government? And so on. So, as you know, I am a former government employee. I did about 10 years of service for the Department of Defense. And at one time, I was working for the HR department back when I first joined, and I helped people get jobs. Transitioning out of the military and into corporate life was my specialty. So, with that said, let's jump right in. I've put together a PowerPoint presentation to make the information more digestible, and we will talk about job hunting, resume building, interviewing, and so on. So, first thing is, what happens if you are a government employee and you're facing layoffs? I know that's got to be very stressful and scary and fills you with anxiety as it would anyone. Just know that you're going to be okay no matter what happens to you. You can get another job. You can probably even get a better job that pays more money and has better benefits and maybe is more interesting for you. Change is scary. The biggest reason why people don't like changing jobs is because of that reason. So sometimes things happen in our lives and we have no choice but to respond to them. And if you're facing layoffs, that would be one of those things. So, some of the things we're going to talk about: what if you're a government employee? Currently, if you haven't been laid off yet, how can you maintain good standing? What to do if you are let go? How to stand out as a candidate for any jobs that you're going after with your resume, with your LinkedIn profile, and in the interview itself. And then we'll go over some other things to consider, and I'll give you some additional resources. So, if you are a government employee facing layoffs, first thing is you need to know your rights. Do your research, talk to your HR people, look at the regulations, look at your specific contract if you are under one, and just do everything you can to gather all the data that is pertinent to your situation. Make sure you stay informed. Information is coming at us at the fastest pace I've ever seen. Things are changing hourly, it seems. So this might be a challenge, but do your best to gather all your information, know what sources are reliable and trustworthy, and then collate that information. Save articles, put things into a folder on your computer so that you have all of your reference material at hand should you need it. Cooperate and communicate as required. There have been mixed responses to different things coming down the pipeline. For example, with Doge, how Elon Musk has requested people to share the 5 things they did all week. Sometimes you need to respond, other times you may not, and you're going to want to rely on your leadership. So if you work for the Department of Defense, look to your leaders. If you work for the USDA, look to your leaders. But if it's required that you cooperate, if your leadership is telling you to do so, go ahead and do it. Be succinct, to the point, and just keep it simple. You want to prepare for the worst, but still hope for the best. And by preparing for the worst, you are going to update your resume, start networking with other people, maybe tell people on LinkedIn that you're open to opportunity, maybe talk to people face to face. Start developing those new opportunities for yourself. What options do you have? Perhaps you're at the end of your career and you're eligible for retirement. You might consider that as a viable option. You might also want to work on your budget. Just in case you do get laid off, you might be eligible for unemployment and things like that. So make sure that you look to your finances, tighten up your budget if you need to, start squirreling away extra money if you can while you are preparing. When it comes to new options, what opportunities are available in your area already? Do you have any friends or former colleagues that you can rely on that can show you where to go, how to network with the right people, how to get your foot into a specific industry or to a specific company, and so on? You want to have as many options as possible. And that's just in general, right? Options make us feel powerful. Options make us feel like we have choices, we have other means. We aren't just desperate and relying on other people to help us. So know what your options are and then start developing more. If you're offered a severance package, consider it. I think 7 months or even 9 months are being thrown around. I don't know what options exist as I'm no longer a government employee, so this doesn't apply to me. But if you do get offered a severance package, consider taking it. It will buy you plenty of time to be able to go and find a new opportunity. And then if you wanted to get back into government service later, you certainly could. What if you're still working for the government? You haven't been laid off yet, but you're worried about it. You're worried about maintaining a good standing with your new administration. Well, some of the things that you might want to consider include: make sure you're putting your mission first. I understand there's a lot of moving parts and it's scary, but you still need to do your job and you need to do it well. So put your mission first. Make sure that you are aligning your actions with the mission of your organization. You want to consistently demonstrate value. So this isn't unusual to this circumstance, but in general, you want to have the ability to show what you've done. You want to be able to keep track of your accomplishments and share them with your leadership. This is good for evaluations, for promotions, and just in general to keep track of what you do for your resume. So, to consistently demonstrate value, you do want to be cooperative with your team and with your leadership. You want to take any initiatives that you might have. Don't wait for somebody to tell you what to do. If you know what needs done, go do it. Consistently exceed expectations if you can. Doing the bare minimum is not going to help you grow your career, and it may not help you keep your job if you are facing layoffs. Make sure you're maintaining a high quality, both with your products and with the services that you're delivering. Seek out complex and critical tasks. This is a way to stretch your skill set and take on more responsibility. Solve tangible problems. Don't focus on things that you can't actually fix. Focus on things you can fix. What difference can you make where you sit and with the influence that you currently have? And make sure you document everything. One thing that I recommend to people in general is to keep a brag book. This is something you can just have a folder on your computer with maybe a running document that lists everything that you've done, any accolades, any accomplishments, and make sure to quantify things if you can. What was the impact? What was the result? So if you're facing layoffs and you want to stay in the good graces of your leadership, follow these steps. And also look for opportunities to cross train. Learning new skills right there on the job from another employee might be a way for you to pivot into a different type of job or a different career should that need come up. Seek feedback and act on it. It's hard to get feedback because feedback sometimes feels like criticism, but it's good to know how other people perceive you. And that way you can take control of how you're perceived and change your behavior so that you are perceived differently in a more positive light. Asking for things like a 360 evaluation from peers, colleagues, and supervisors might be a way for you to uncover some things that you need to work on so that you can put your best foot forward in the future. Now, what if you are let go? If you're let go, the first thing you want to do is you want to apply for unemployment benefits. It's a pain in the butt, it's a lot of paperwork, and you have to stay on top of it, but it is worth doing while you figure out what your other options are. And it will take some time for those payments to make their way to your bank account. So be prepared, work on your budget, like I mentioned, and maybe talk to your creditors if you need to. Perhaps you need to ask for leeway on a car note or a mortgage payment or something like that. Know what your options are, communicate with them. They will work with you. Creditors are always happy to make a payment arrangement. They don't want to cancel your account. They don't want to repossess your car. They don't want to foreclose on your home. They really just want to get paid, even if that is late. Stay in contact with your HR team, with your legal team, and with any other resources like your EEO officer, um, any other folks that are in your chain or that affect what you're facing. Because you might want to sue. I know there are lawsuits that are going on right now against the administration. So make sure that you are aware of what is being done and how to include yourself in those processes if you want to include yourself. Prepare for your next role. So let your network know immediately. Maybe make an announcement on your Facebook, your LinkedIn, in your friend group. And you want to update your LinkedIn page. So make sure that your LinkedIn reflects the best version of you as possible. Start talking to people on there. Start connecting with people by looking to see who you're already connected with, and then maybe look at who they're connected with. Maybe go to a specific company page or an organization page and see who do you know, and go ahead and start connecting and building that. That's going to dramatically increase your reach. The more people you're connected with on LinkedIn, the farther your reach is. You also want to make sure you update your resume, which we'll talk about a little bit more in detail in the next couple of slides. But if you're let go, you have to do all these things in a hurry. If you can avoid doing them in a hurry, even better. If you haven't been let go, go ahead and get these things going now. Go ahead and start thinking about what you want to do. How do you want to position yourself just in case, which includes making sure your resume is up to date at all times. If you get a promotion, if you get a new job, within 3 months, you should be updating your resume to reflect your new job and your new role. And then you're going to find and apply for jobs that fit your needs. And we'll talk about that as well, where to find opportunities. So if you're let go, make sure you're applying for benefits, make sure you're staying abreast of movement that is taking place on your behalf or on behalf of federal employees with your HR team, with your legal team, with your EEO specialist, and any other resources that might apply. And make sure that you are preparing yourself as best as you can. So let's say you do need to find an opportunity real quick, like, where do you look? Well, I've got a number of resources that I recommend to people, and I have a few mailing lists, email lists that I'm on where I'm constantly getting updates asking for specific jobs, like accountants, for example, because I know a lot of accountants and I've helped many people with their resumes in the field of accounting as a result. And so I'm on some mailing lists that let me know when opportunities arise. Find out those mailing lists for you, whatever job you're doing. So some of the ones that I use on a regular basis include LinkedIn. You can find and apply for jobs directly on there. You can even link up with recruiters on LinkedIn. You can go directly to a company website. If you know there's an opening at Boeing, for example, or Raytheon, go to their website and look and see what is available. Professional associations. If you're a member of, like I'm a member of PMI, the Project Management Institute, these professional associations, one, have a vast network, and two, might have a job board where jobs are posted. They also might be available for job coaching and resume writing and things like that. Some professional associations offer those types of services. Alumni networks. I'm a graduate of Syracuse University. For example, I see jobs that are posted for Syracuse alumni. There are resources for most colleges and technical schools and other things like that. So look to see what you have already available to you that you may not be aware of. Don't overlook staffing agencies. Staffing agencies are there to temporarily fill a gap by hiring people for a role. They work for the staffing agency, and then often they have the opportunity to become full time with the company that they're supporting. So staffing agencies exist. We've got a few right here in Huntsville. I've worked with a few of them for the sake of helping filter people through there that need jobs. And it has led to people getting offered permanent positions within those companies. Or you can do it temporarily. Maybe you want to go and work for a staffing agency temporarily while you figure out what you want to do for your next steps. And that's okay too. Also, ask around. We all have friends, we have places we go. There's no harm in just asking. Does anybody know of any opportunities in XY field or at XY company? Some people still do walk-ins or cold outreach. There's nothing wrong with that, but if there's not an opening available, just know it may not lead anywhere. But sometimes it does. Sometimes there are positions that are coming available that they haven't announced. And so by you being there in person, you'll be fresh in their mind when the job opening comes available and when they post that opportunity online and you apply. Cold outreach, walk-ins, those aren't really used that much today, but I will tell you, I got myself a job opportunity by doing this. One time I was just joking and I made a comment as I was visiting a friend at her company, and I said, "Wow, I think I need a job here." Guess what? She said, "Well, we might have an opening coming up soon and you probably would be a good candidate." On Monday, they called me and they said, "We like you. We want to interview you." The job never even got posted. They interviewed me for the position. I got the job. I started a couple of months later, and that job never went online. Nobody knew that job was available. So it does have some merit, but don't bank on it. Some of the websites that I use on a regular basis: ZipRecruiter, Indeed, Simply Hired, Monster, Clearance Jobs. These are for people with security clearances. So if you don't have a security clearance, you may not find anything there because most of the time it is something that is required, either a secret or a top secret. And then there are some specialty websites. RobertHalf.com, for example, is a good website for accountants and finance people. AeroIndustryJobs.com, that is for aerospace related jobs. Careers.nspe.org, that is for the National Association of Engineers. So what do you do if you're in logistics? There's probably some specialty websites for loggies and so on. So try to find those specialty websites that cater to your career field. And if you're not in a specialized career field, then look to these other ones: ZipRecruiter, Indeed, and so on. So they're all going to work similarly. Yes, it's tedious. It takes a lot to set up your profile, but once you put that in there, it's in there. Now you just have to maintain it. Similar to usajobs.gov. If you're familiar with usajobs.gov, and chances are you are, if you're a government employee, that's how people get hired for the most part. It's a similar setup. You fill out your profile, you copy and paste your information into the designated boxes, and then it builds a resume for you. Now, don't rely on that resume though, because the formatting is going to be terrible. And there is quite a bit of difference between a government resume and a corporate resume. A corporate resume, you want to keep it shorter, you want to keep it more high level, whereas a government resume wants all the details. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a later slide. But these are some of the places that you can go to find job opportunities. And these are just a handful that I came up with here to fit on the slide. There are plenty more out there. So bookmark them, maybe make a list of them, and start building your profiles to prepare. Now, when we talk about your resume, you want to make sure that your resume stands out, because hiring officials go through dozens of resumes, at least dozens, when they are screening applicants for potential hires. So here are some ways that you want to make sure that you are putting yourself in the best light possible. You want to tailor your resume and your application to that specific job and company. This includes your keywords. You want to take keywords from the job announcement and you want to put them in your resume where it makes sense. If they're using a technical term and it applies, then you should also use that same technical term. The same goes for the skill set. If it's asking for a specific skill set, highlight the things that you did at your previous roles using those skills. You want to make sure that you have a separate call out box for your technical skills. I like to put that at the top of the resume so that recruiters and hiring officials can see at a glance, these are the things that I am good at, and I am self-selecting for those technical skills. This might include things like systems that you use, software that you use, certifications that you hold, and then any relevant experience. So like me, for example, on my skills, actually, I'll pull mine up and show you. So let me show you mine, for example. This is the skills profile section of my resume, and it has some very specific information related to what I did for the government. So policy analysis, budget estimation for these particular funds, communication skills, organizational skills, and a strong customer relations background. I call that out specifically because it's useful in a lot of different roles. Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, specializing in process improvement and audit readiness with a focus on fraud prevention. So I'm telling you what I specialize in and what I focus on. Some of the skills I have: project and program management, specifically for these initiatives, and then planning and conducting meetings, training sessions, workshops, and briefings. This is a way to let them know that I'm good at public speaking. So make sure that you put relevant skills that you have, not just ones that you have a little bit of, but the skills you are the strongest at. Those are the things you're going to call out in the skills profile section. And make sure they're relevant to the job you're applying for. Again, you want to tailor your resume, and that includes your skill section. You want to showcase your projects and accomplishments throughout your resume. You want to make sure you're quantifying your achievements. It's not enough to just say what you did. What was the impact of what you did? Did you save them money? Did you save them time? Did you eliminate errors? Did you improve quality? Did you improve customer satisfaction? What is the result? And the STAR method is very useful in setting up the structure of your bullet points. So what was the situation? What is the task? What was the action taken? And what was the results? And you want to demonstrate problem solving skills. It's not enough to just do a job. You want to be actively solving problems. And we all solve problems, right? But you want to be able to articulate that correctly on your resume so that they know not only are you a doer, but you take the initiative to fix things when they go wrong. You want to use action verbs that demonstrate your impact. So this is just a small overview of how to make your resume stand out and put yourself in the best light. The last thing I'll say is you want to make sure you proofread meticulously. When I was a hiring official, I couldn't tell you the number of resumes that I threw out simply because they did not proofread. They were all over the place with their information, things didn't make sense, there were typos. They had the education and they seemingly had the experience, but if you don't take the time to proofread your own work on your resume, well, then that gives me an indication of what kind of employee you will be. Don't make that mistake. Now, how do you make yourself stand out on your LinkedIn profile? Well, you want to optimize your headline for searchability. If you're looking for a role as a budget analyst, say that. You want to craft a compelling about me section. This is where you are going to say what kind of employee you are, what you're focusing on, what you really care about, what you're passionate about, and you want to have it as succinct and meaningful as possible. Because just like resumes, people are just glancing at people's LinkedIns. Recruiters and hiring officials, they're glancing at your LinkedIn and they're seeing, do they have anything that piques my interest? So do your best to make it compelling. Showcase projects and accomplishments. You can actually upload attachments as well to LinkedIn. You can even add a video if you want. So, if you worked on something that was a big deal to you that had a lot of positive impact and you're able to share it, this might be a good way for you to do so. Then a recruiter or hiring official can see what you actually do. Engage with local companies, industry leaders, and recruiters. You can talk directly to hiring officials, and sometimes they'll even come to you. They'll send you a DM and say, "Hey, I saw your profile, and I think you might be a good fit for our fill in the blank role." So make sure that you're communicating and you're checking your LinkedIn on a regular basis. You can have it on your phone as an app so that you can stay in constant contact if you start engaging with hiring officials and recruiters. And it's okay to go directly to a company website and see, okay, these are the people that are working in this department. Find them on LinkedIn and connect with them. And maybe send a message that says, "Hey, I'm interested in a role at your company and I would love some more information or some insight about what it's like to work there." Don't just ask them, "Hey, can you hook me up with a job?" But find out some information, do some recon. What are the things that are good to know about the company? What do you like about working there? Join relevant groups. There are all kinds of groups on LinkedIn that specialize in different career fields or schools of thought. Like I'm in a Lean Six Sigma group, I'm in a project management group, I'm in a motivational speaking group. Find the groups that are relevant to you. You can seek endorsements and recommendations on your LinkedIn. And I was laid off one time and I did that. I went and asked multiple people if they would write something up for me that says what it's like to work with me. And this is a good way to garner credibility and get a little bit more insight into what a person does through their colleagues or classmates or former supervisors and so on. But you want to use those wisely. You don't want to seek endorsements or recommendations from people who aren't credible, who aren't in your industry, or who haven't actually worked with you. You want to share relevant content and comments. So, LinkedIn is really great for showcasing what you can do and what you think about and the things that you care about. And so, sharing articles, adding comments to other people's posts is a way to share your knowledge and the way you think. And this is something that a lot of recruiters and hiring officials will do. They will go and look at your page and see what you've commented on. Are you articulate? Do you make sense? Are you nice and professional? Are you polite? Nobody wants to work with somebody who's rude on LinkedIn, and there are plenty of people that are rude out there on LinkedIn. Become a thought leader. If there's something that you're really good at, if there's something that you're very passionate about, talk about it, write articles about it, set yourself out among your peers as someone who is leading the way on that particular topic. And personalize any connection requests. If you're going to reach out to someone that works at a company and you don't actually know that person, personalize your connection request with a message that says who you are, why you're reaching out to them, and why you want to connect. Don't just cold reach out through LinkedIn without personalizing it. And don't just connect with people that you've never met without any context because they may not accept it. Now, how do you make yourself stand out in your interview? Well, it starts with doing your prep work, right? You got to make sure that you do prep work. This includes thorough research of the company and the position and their mission, their vision, their goals, their history. What is the news saying about them? What press releases are available on their website, and so on. Demonstrate an understanding of their mission. Make sure you can articulate it back to the interviewer if need be. Actually, I would recommend that you do articulate that on purpose because hiring someone that knows what you're doing and why it's important is a lot easier than having to start over from scratch with someone. Share how you connect to the company's values and their culture. and perhaps even their mission itself, depending on what it is. Make sure that you identify with these values. Don't apply for a job where you don't identify with the values because you're probably not going to be happy there. Showcase your passions. If there's something that really gets you going, talk about it. For me, it's process improvement and change management. Any job I've ever been in, at least after the age of 25, I talk about process improvement and change management. And I ask questions. What are you guys doing for process improvement? Do you use Lean Six Sigma or another methodology? Do you have a formal program for change management? If not, why not? Get some thinking. And you want to be yourself. Showcase your personality, but do it professionally, of course. You know, we want to be ourselves, but we want to be as professional as the job is. If you're working in pipe welding, it's going to look a little bit different than if you're working in budget or accounting, right? So hold yourself accordingly, dress accordingly, and articulate your thoughts accordingly. You also want to articulate how your skills directly address the company's needs. Now, hopefully you already did that in your resume, but if not, this is another chance for you to talk about the specific skill sets that you have and how you would be applying them to the new role. Ask insightful questions. Have a list of questions and not how much does it pay or when can I start? Questions about the mission, the problems, even the turnover. Why is this position open? What would success look like if I came into this role 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now? How would I know that I was being successful? There's a lot of good questions you can come up with on your own, or you can even Google good interview questions for the interviewee, and you can probably make a list from there. Or use ChatGPT, use AI. You know, we've got these tools at our disposal. And make sure that you provide examples of relevant work. As a former hiring official, I really enjoyed it when people had examples of their work that they could show me. And this is something that I've been doing for myself for years. When I went to technical school, before I went to college, I went to a vocational school my junior and senior year of high school, and they had us put together examples for interview purposes. And I've just followed that practice ever since. So when you are going to interview with a group of people, you want to have copies for everyone. So some of the things you might consider, if you are in a particular field and you can give them something, make sure you redact any information that you're not allowed to share, but give them examples. And for me, I gave an example of a Lean Six Sigma project charter that I put together. I gave an example of a memorandum that I wrote for policy that was enacted across the organization. And I gave examples of, I think I gave an example of a PowerPoint presentation that I did. And these are just whatever is relevant to you. It could be photos, it could be slides, it could be documents, but make sure you bring enough for everyone to have a copy and keep a copy for yourself so that you can talk about it while you're going through it. And this is something that really impresses hiring officials. Now, here are some other things to consider. You have to write a cover letter. I don't have to, but I encourage you to. Cover letters are very useful, and they are another opportunity to connect your skills and your passions to that particular role and that particular company. And it's a way to give a little bit more context. Make sure you're sending thank you letters or emails. If you got interviewed, see if you can get the information so that you can send a thank you to them and do it within, I would say, 24 hours. Also, you might need to follow up with them. Let's say you interviewed, you send a thank you letter or email, and 2 weeks go by, then what? You're going to want to follow up with them at an appropriate time. And that is really going to depend on the situation. It might be a week, it might be a month. These are things that you want to hash out in the interview if at all possible. So, one of the questions, when do you think this position will be filled, or when do you expect to make a decision? If they tell you 3 weeks, don't reach out to them until 3 weeks have gone by, other than with your thank you letter. Network intentionally. Talk to people that can help you get a foot in the door at a company, in an industry, or whatever the case might be. Don't just be a succubus. You want to get to know these people, and you also want to figure out how can you help them. Show them how you can be helpful, and they're going to be more likely to want to help you. Don't look at it as a transaction per se. You do want something from them, right? You want a good word, you want an introduction, you want a link to a website, but make sure that you're offering something to them as well, even if it's just you know pleasant conversation. It is a good idea to conduct mock interviews or practice interviews so that you know exactly how to answer specific questions that are going to come up for you. And those questions are going to be directly tied to the job. Some things though, they might ask you no matter what job. Tell me about yourself. That's one. Tell me about a time when you had a problem with a coworker and how you solved it. Tell me how you manage stress. These are some generic interview questions that get asked regardless of industry. And you can find a lot of this on the web. So I always recommend that you come up with your own interview questions based on put yourself in their headspace. What would they be asking? What should they be asking? And then prepare an answer so that if you're asked, you can get it just like that. You are coming across as if you just came up with the answer, although you rehearsed that answer in your past. This will allow you to come across as more prepared, professional, and so on. Make sure you're keeping your resume up to date. Like I mentioned, if you are new in a role, within 3 months, you should have a grasp on what you're doing, and then you want to update your resume accordingly. Seek professional help. My company does resume writing. There are plenty of other companies out there that do resume writing. You might know somebody that does that already. And dress for success. A friend of mine told me recently, and I love this quote: dress the way you want to be addressed. So, do you want to be taken seriously? Do you want to be comfortable? Or do you want to get the job? Do you want to look hot? Or do you want to make a good impression? The job dress code is going to vary based on what job you do, but I think you probably can understand the nuances there. If you're working in IT, they dress differently than if you work in accounting. Err on the side of caution, do your research. Maybe there's somebody that works at the company that you can ask. How do people show up? And then go one step further for the interview. Go just a little bit more professional for the interview. If it's business casual at work, maybe show up in a suit for the resume. If it's business casual at work, maybe you show up to the interview with a suit without a tie. Use your judgment, but that judgment should be based on sound research and intel. Now, I did want to say a couple of things. If you're not in a hurry to find a new job, let's say you have the luxury to take your time, you've got a nest egg, or maybe you took that severance package. Then what should you do? Maybe you should focus on your personal well being. Reflect on your career goals. What have you accomplished in your life? What do you want to accomplish next? Identify any skill gaps that you might have, and then perhaps take a class, get certified in something, explore a different career field altogether. Join professional associations if you're not a part of any already. Associations in your career field or in the career field that you might want to segue into. You might want to volunteer your time, which could be a useful way to network with people as well as get a taste for an organization or for a particular job. And also, it's a good way to just give back. Build your online presence, your LinkedIn, your blog, whatever it is that you're doing. Build your online presence so that when you're ready to make the leap in whatever direction you end up going, you've already got your network harnessed, you've got a good representation of you on your LinkedIn, on your blog page, etc. You might want to start your own business. A lot of people segue into freelancing after a layoff, and then that freelancing turns into a full-blown business. Depending on what you do and what your skill sets are and where you're at in your life, this might be a good opportunity for you. And consider what you really want to do. Life is short. Life is way too short to work for someone you don't like, for a mission you don't care about, and with people that you just don't want to be around. So think about what you really want out of your life going forward. Maybe pursue your passion and purpose. For me, I left the workforce because I wanted to pursue my passion, which is raise your own bar. I want to help other people raise their bars in life, in their careers, in their relationships for a better future. So I took the leap, but I did it very methodically. I had the luxury of doing that because of where I was at in my life. If you're not there, that's fine. But if you are, consider, what would you do if money was no object? What would you do for free? Those are the things that you really care about. Those are your passions. And if you're not in a hurry, take your time. That way, when you're ready to get into the job market again, or as you're fielding different opportunities, you can really make the best decision for you and not just take any job that's handed to you because you're desperate. So, if you need any more help with your resume or your LinkedIn or interview prep or even finding opportunities, reach out to me. We're offering 50% off services for qualified individuals. The qualified individuals being you are a government employee and you've been laid off. If you are a government employee and you've been laid off, 50% off of our services for you, because I do care about the government. I've got a lot of friends and colleagues, people I look up to, and I want them to be successful and happy and fulfilled and be able to pay their bills. That's what really matters, right? Taking care of your family and your obligations and doing so with a job that makes you feel happy. Also got a link here to a free guide. You just have to put your email address in, but it is a free guide that I developed for resume writing, specifically for individuals transitioning from the military or government into the corporate world. So there's some unique information in there that we didn't cover here, and it's just a little 3-page article. It's nothing extensive. But if you need help, please reach out. I would love to work with you. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can reach out through our website. And here are QR codes. You can reach out to me directly. This is my LinkedIn. You can find me under that name with that QR code. And then this one is the company LinkedIn page. Give us a follow. Reach out if you want to work together to help find your next amazing opportunity. And thank you so much for submitting all of your questions. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to the next AMA. Have a great day, guys. And good luck in your job search.